Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith, and I'm here to recap. I don't review things. The Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, the end of the Star Wars saga. This is gonna be long, kids, so settle in and stuff. First off, don't forget before I start talking about that, the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Roadshow Tour goes back on the road on January 10th in Oakland. That's right, Oakland, California, the Bay Area show, man. Come on down. Tickets at rebootroadshow.com. Olympia, Seattle, Spokane. Well, Seattle we already did. Olympia, Spokane, Edmonton, Medicine Hat. We're coming your way. Tickets at rebootroadshow.com. That tour sponsored by the good folks at Audible, who will be an ad later on in this review. The good folks at Audible, Jersey, born and based. Audible, man. Yeah, they're our sponsor for our tour. Go figure. Because when you think of audiobooks, you think of Jay and Silent Bob. All right, man. Let's talk about Rise of Skywalker. I'm in this movie. I'll spoil it for you, man. I don't have a big role. I have a little walk-on, barely a cameo walk-on thing. But I'm in a Star Wars movie, so that makes me obviously not very objective and stuff. But I wrote down everything I thought about the movie, and we're ready to go through it, man. If you're ready to do this with me, let's fix that hat one last time because we're going to dive in, kids. All right, here we go. Rise of Skywalker. These are the things this is what I bought, this is what I thought. First Star Wars movie that opens with a montage instead of a scene, man. Like, think about it. Star Wars, the crawl happens, and then they pan down to the war in space. You see the Tantive, and then you see the Star Destroyer, and boom, we're into the movie. We're into a scene. Empire Strikes Back, crawl, probots, or Empire sending out probes. One goes to Hoth. Return of the Jedi, crawl, come down. I think it's R2-D2 C-3PO going to see Jabba or something like that. Or no, it's the Emperor or Darth Vader showing up on the Death Star. So we're in space, boom, right into a scene. Rise of Skywalker basically opens, and we see the crawl, and it goes into a montage. For the first time ever, we dive into a montage of the opening of a Star Wars movie. And if you're a Kai lover, holy fuck, it's just Adam Driver murder porn, killing the fuck out of people and stuff. He's looking for an oscillation overthruster that he's going to stick in his ship. It's going to take him to the Emperor, man. So Kylo gets the oscillation overthruster, jams it into his flux capacitor, and flies off to Exegol, which is a planet where the Sith live, man. A bunch of Sith. Bunch of shipbuilding Sith, man. It's like the Newcastle of the Star Wars universe because they just built a bunch of fucking giant ships and stuff. He goes off to Exegol, where the 80s are waiting, man, because in the 80s, we had the Emperor, and we also had him in the aughts as well, in the late 90s. That's right, man. The Emperor survived the Death Star attack in Return of the Jedi, and he's been pulling the strings this whole time. There you go, man. It's the Emperor. They ran out of characters to bring back, man. Luke, Han, Leia. Look, they brought everybody back. They're like, who left? The Emperor. And the Emperor came back as well. So the Emperor's your big bad. Now, anyone who saw the second Death Star get blown the fuck up, Return of the Jedi, knows the odds of surviving the explosion are C-3PO to 1. But here's why I'm okay with the undying Palpatine, why I'm okay that he's still there, man. Sith believe eternal life is power, but Jedi know that the body's got to go to reach that level of power. It's that simple. Like, remember Ben Kenobi's, if you strike me down, I should become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. The Sith can only imagine, like, I'm alive for 100 years, even though I shouldn't be, and everyone I fucking know is dead. That's their idea of power and stuff. They cling to life while the Jedi know that death is the door. Also, man, fucking in a universe where Princess Leia did the moonwalk, in the last movie, Carrie Poppins did. If she could do that, I buy that the Emperor survived that trip from the exploding Death Star to Exegol. The Emperor's got busted fingers and a massive fleet, or at least lots of ships. Who the fuck's going to fly and man all these ships? That's what I want to know, man. I know the First Order is big, but this is like a Costco approach to shipbuilding, and it's just not effective, man. Later on, we find out there is no Death Star to blow up, thank God, because what they do is they got a fleet of Star Destroyers, and each one of them has planet-killing technology. So it's like a fleet of Death Stars. Fuck the Death Star. Look at this, the fucking trial size for your convenience and stuff. So they could just go out and fucking blow up a planet with a ship. They don't even need that giant. They don't need Star Killer base. They don't need anything, man. It's a nice carryover from Last Jedi. Remember they were attacking the base in Last Jedi? They're like, we got this fucking cannon, man. It's like got all the power of a Death Star fucking beam and shit. And you're like, holy shit, they miniaturized it. And now they just put it on the ships. Nice carryover from Last Jedi to Rise of Skywalker. Okay. Like Palpatine says, man, Rey's not who you think she is. Kylo asks, who is she? And she's not a nobody, because this is fan service, man. Fucking, so she's related to somebody big. This whole episode is about, no, everything's what you thought it was. So she's going to be related to somebody. Cut to Chewie. He's playing chess against Finn and Poe on a Falcon. A JJ cocktail of the old and new, if you will. This moment gives us one of the best lines in the movie from Oscar Isaac, where Chewie's mad because they're like, you're cheating. He's like, and they're like, all right, look, we know you're 250 years old. Of course you're better than us. That made me laugh very, very hard. They're going to reconnoiter with a spy who looks like the Blue Devil from DC Comics and stuff. And he gives them some more secret plans. These movies are all about the secret plans. And then he tells them, win the war. And then shuts the door and shit. Then, since it's Star Wars, they do some warring with spaceships, man. Fucking pew, pew, pew. The new thing is light speed skipping. Every new thing in a movie has a kind of first draft name. So they're like, what do we do? Skip around light speed? It's called light speed skipping. They're like, we have to find this Imperial device that finds the way to Exegol. It's called a wayfinder. We are sinking in these fields. They are called the sinking fields. So, one more draft and maybe we could have come up with something else. But anyway, those are the names, first draft names. As we find Rey, man, who we probably should have cut to after Kylo, he goes, who is she? The Emperor's like, she's more than what she thinks she is. And he's like, who is she? And they don't cut to Rey, they cut to Chewie and Poe and Finn playing chess. This is an editor thing, man. So anyway, they finally come to Rey, and she's flying with moon rocks, man, or lunar modules, as we call them when we sell them for Jay and Silent Bob. Weed, man, like our own brand of weed, Snugan, Sativa, and Berserker, available herbarium. At any fine state where weed legal weed is sold. Let's see. Rey is trying to hear the voices of all the Jedi in the past by saying, be with me. That's what she's saying while she's bouncing rocks. Her Jedi master is General Leia Organa, or to those of us who grew up with the movies, Princess Leia, who, now when kids watch this, they probably, like years from now when you watch this movie, audiences won't know that Carrie Fisher sadly passed away before this movie was made. So they'll never know, but we do. So it's an odd moment where you see her and you're like, oh, but it's welcome. It's welcome and uncanny at the same time. I still feel like it would have been better had Princess Leia been the one in the chair, the Holdo maneuver. That would have been a glorious ending. Could you imagine, like, that was the ending to Princess Leia's story in the last movie instead of this movie, where, she, first time we met her, she's like, this war is everything to me. And she's trying to get a little droid to get some help. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, to R2 and stuff. That, her whole life was about, fighting the Empire and stuff. And then with the Resistance and the First Order, she was back at it. Like, that would have been a cool, this ain't fan fiction. We're not going to sit here and rewrite the movies, but it would have been cool if she was in the chair. She did that light speed move and stuff. But in any event, we get her back for the third movie, and they made her Jedi Master, which is very, very cool. Rey is training with that little ball that Luke trained with in Star Wars, which she breaks, by the way. No respect for the past. And Kylo Ren takes over for a minute, man. He comes in with that mind meld shit. Like, they started in the last movie. Now he's doing this thing, man. He's got his mask in a box, man. Darth Vader burnt up mask, which comes out of a special box that I hope Sideshow Collectibles makes. Well, because I want my own special little box with a crusty old Darth Vader mask and whatnot. But he can, like, they got that connection, so he can, like, talk to her, and she could be like, I hate you. And he's just like, you should join me and shit like that. Finn, Poe, and Chewie return to the Resistance base where they reunite with Rey. And this is going to be the theme of the whole movie is like, you know, these cats, you're going to enjoy these cats together because we want to keep them together. I guess people complain they weren't together too much in the last movie. We meet Admiral Akbar's son, Junior, because Admiral Akbar died in Last Jedi. One of the hobbits from Lord of the Rings is there, Dominic Monaghan, who was in JJ's Lost, so it makes sense. But it's jarring for a minute because you're like, wait a second. Which trilogy am I watching? Did I put it in the wrong movie? Where's Gandalf? The secret plans are about Palpatine and the big fleet that the guy was like, win the war. And it's called the Final Order. Now they're calling this will be the Final Order. They were the First Order with all these ships being able to kill planets with each Star Destroyer. They rebrand as the Final Order, man. We meet Rose Tico again for like a minute and 20 seconds of the whole movie, man. Big character in the last movie, not. She says, I ain't going with you guys. Like Lupus in the Bad News Bears and Breaking Training. She doesn't go on the adventure this time. So that puts Rey and Finn and Poe together with Chewie and C-3PO and BB-8, which that's what everyone wanted from, that's what they felt was missing from Last Jedi. But it feels weird. Like, it feels like, later on they meet a new character, a Janna, who's fine, wonderful character, but at the same time, you're like, couldn't Rose have done that stuff? And Dominic Monaghan, I don't want to take anything away from him, but all of his lines, you're like, couldn't? Rose is right there. Can she say this? So Kelly Marie Tran doesn't get a lot of screen time, which is kind of a bummer. What JJ missed from Last Jedi, it looks like, was Kylo's mask. So Kylo has a guy put it back together with some 66 Batmobile red piping, man. The space equivalent of duct tape all over his helmet. He reunites with the Knights of Ren, and they give him Blue Devil's head, man. Win the war! And they cut his head off, I guess. The movie usually cuts off hands. Now they're cutting off heads, man. All bets are off for this Star Wars movie. Kylo has to choke a bitch in the boardroom while Rey and Co. go to another desert planet, Pisana, I think it's called, where they're having one of those Matrix dance parties, where everyone's like, where you're like, where did this come from? Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. Finn, Poe, and Co. get rescued by Lando, but this is after a little girl gives Rey a necklace and asks Rey, what's your last name? She goes, what's your name? And she's, I'm Rey. And she said, what? Rey, what? And, Rey's like, I don't know. Like, she can't, that's the whole thing. I don't know who I am. But it's so weird in this movie, more so than any other movie. Everyone keeps asking for people's last names. Like, that suddenly matters and stuff. So, like, every other Star Wars movie, she could have been like, I'm Rey. And people are like, all right, Rey, let's go. Like, God forbid this little kid giving out necklaces ever meets Yoda. Like, what's your last name? And he's like, I don't know. Baby. Not you, but maybe my first name is Baby. Maybe my last name's Yoda. I don't know. So, in any event, there's a little moment there. Finn, Poe, and Co., first, while she puts on this necklace, then she has one of those conversations with Kylo Ren, and he reaches in, he snatches the necklace from her reality to his reality and stuff, and suddenly that's a new thing you're seeing in a Star Wars movie, where you could use the Force to fucking grab shit. Could you imagine how helpful this would be if you were sitting on the couch and you just wanted something out of the fridge, and you were like, and you just grabbed it from the fucking fridge with the power of the Force and shit? Perhaps an abuse of your powers, but still. Sometimes it's not all about cutting off the Blue Devil's head, man. Sometimes you just want to drink. Blue milk, if you will. So Finn, Poe, and Co. get rescued by Lando Calrissian. That's right, man. The past is back. Those of us who grew up with Lando were so delighted to see Billy D. Williams popping up. He was supposed to be, the way I heard it, in Canto Bright scenes in Last Jedi or whatever. But here he is, man, in a mask. And he's like, give Leia my love. My only complaint about all this, you can bring back Lando, but you don't bring back Lobot, bald guy with the headphones. Come on, where's Lobot? You know what I'm saying? He left that dude behind. They were tight. That was like Jay and Silent Bob tight. Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Roadshow tour. RebootRoadshow.com. I missed Lobot, is all I'm saying. No complaints. After the new trilogy says hello to the old trilogy, they all get on a skiff, and that calls to mind Return of the Jedis. They're going through the desert and stuff like that. That's when the stormtroopers start flying. They fly now. And the kids land in the aforementioned sinking fields. My man Snap Wexley, Greg Grunberg, Grunny, has a scene with Princess Leia and Rose Tico before the kids wind up in a sandworm cave from Dune. There's a little bit of Dune in this, man. It's really a big snake. And it took like 9 movies, but they finally made a lightsaber flashlight joke. I've been waiting for that since 1977. Oscar Isaac's like, Rey snaps on her lightsaber, and then Oscar Isaac just turns on a flashlight right next to her. But if you really want to impress me, tell a fleshlight joke in Star Wars. There you go. She turns on the flashlight, and then he whips out a fleshlight, and everyone's like, and he's like, in space, nobody can hear you scream. Rey finds a knife. Give me the knife, please. With Sith writing on it. That C-3PO cannot translate because his programming forbids him to speak Sith. That's when a giant snake shows up to kill them all, kind of like the Rancor monster in Return of the Jedi. But Rey sees that it's hurt. The snake's hurt. And then she heals this big old trouser snake with the Force, man. Like Wolverine heals it. That's new. Never seen that before. Then there's this boy band shot of the Knights of Ren on a hill. Like, just like they're standing there all posing and shit. There's the fucking drone or helicopter goes around. And looks like a Creed video. With arms wide open. Because they're the Knights of Ren. I say that fully embracing this movie. With arms wide open. They eventually captured Chewie after Finn, Poe, and Chewie find an old Jedi Hunter ship that knows the location of a wayfinder. It's a lot of like, we got to go here to do this, and here to do this, and here to do this. Set up like a video game. A series of mini missions, then big boss every once in a while. Rey feels a disturbance of the Force. Kylo Ren shows up in his TIE fighter, his specially made, this is my own TIE fighter. Looks like Darth Vader's, of course. And we do that scene from the first trailer where she's like, with it flips on top of it. But what we didn't see in the trailer, she cuts fucking wing off, man. My man crashes. It should fucking kill a lesser person, but it won't kill Kylo Ren. And then as the transport with Chewie takes off, like fucking, Finn is like, right, I got Chewie. And then she fucking uses her hand and fucking force grabs the ship out the air, man. It was pretty dope. But then Kylo Ren gets out of his ship and he starts force grabbing that fucking ship, and they're both force grabbing it. But then lightning comes out of Rey's fingers and blows that ship up, and everyone's like, Chewie! She's like, Chewie! She thinks she killed Chewie. She didn't. And then, you're seeing lightning come out of her fingers. That looks familiar, and we know that the Emperor's in this movie, so, I wonder who Rey is related to. Spoilers. Chewie's still alive. They think that Chewie got blown up, man. They think that the knife, the Ajanti dagger, give me the knife, the Megiddo daggers that could fucking kill a 666 kid. They think that got blown up with Chewie, and so they don't know how to get to the Wayfinder either, but we'll see in like 2 minutes. None of that's the case, man. Heroes hide in an asteroid field from Empire Strikes Back. There's even a ship that chases them, like Boba Fett's ship, where Rey tells Poe she thinks she's a Sith, man, because she had a vision. Her and Ren sitting on the Iron Throne and shit. C-3PO says that the knife inscription is in his memory banks. They don't need the fucking knife. He's like, well, I memorized it. And Poe says, well, I know a droid cracker, man, on Kijimi who could get that message from the knife from your head, translate it and stuff. Meanwhile, BB-8 meets a little droid named Dio, like Ronnie James Dio. And I'm pretty sure that JJ does that robot's voice. So our heroes fly to a snowy mountain retreat on top of beautiful Mount Airy Lodge, man. That's Kijimi. As Poe stalks the streets of Kijimi, he sees all sorts of weird creatures, including, if you blink and you miss it, movie ruiner Kevin Smith walking with a robot right by Poe, man, like Jay and Silent Bob in it in the snowy mountain town. I got to be on set and see the movie get made. JJ composing that shot for like an hour, 2 hours with this giant Lumicrane. It was really beautiful and stuff. He don't get enough credit for his composition. So anyway, then Felicity shows up. She's wearing a giant Boba Fett mask, calls herself Zori. Kerry Russell leads the gang through a Star Wars bar to meet Babu Frick, this movie's Baby Yoda. Babu Frick gets the message out of 3PO's head, but to do that is going to wipe 3PO's memory banks completely. For what I will point out is the second time in the series. They did it at the end of the prequels. Remember, they're like, wipe the droids. And he was like, what? And so this ain't the first time. But this one's going to, like, you know, take him out the game. This means if they wipe him this time, he'll forget Luke and Leia and Han and all the movies we love and then the sequels that have since come and stuff. So it's a pretty cool, like, setup where it's like, you know, and he's like, I've got to do this. You know, I was there for the shooting of the scene where he looks back and he's just like, I'm taking one last look at my friends. This is like Anthony Daniels' career best performance moment, I felt. Let me see. I'm reading my thing. The Sith message tells him that the Wayfinder is on a moon of Endor. And we hear the E word and we're like, yes, keep giving me that sweet, sweet 80s nonsense and stuff. So we're like, Ewoks. Poe says, Endor? Where the last war ended? Or I thought maybe Rey says that. But that's like the last war was Return of the Jedi. And I'm like, yeah, bitch. It takes so little to get me happy. And just reference some old shit, man. Could have even been like, hey, anyone remember Watto? You know, Watto! Memories. So when they turn on, they do this thing, the C-3PO get the message out. And then he fucking, like, it says that you can find the Sith Wayfinder in blah, 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 blah. It tells him where to go to find this fucking shit. And then they turn him back on. He's like, hello, I am C-3PO. You know, human-cyborg relations. It's like they bring him back to when we first met him in Star Wars, man. He don't know any of these people he'd been hanging out with. It's cute. They don't play with it enough, just little bits, but, like, it's kind of cool idea. They wipe him, so he's like, who the hell are you people and stuff? And he's all polite to everybody. No longer like, you know, oh, I've been on this terrible mission for years. He's just like, hello. Let's see. Kylo Ren's ship shows up. The movie is a series of Rey is a place. Kylo shows up. Blah, blah, blah. She fucks off. He chases. Rey's at a place. Kylo arrives. Blah, blah, blah. Like, they do that quite a bit. So Kylo's ship shows up and Rey senses Chewie's alive on that ship. Zori gives Poe an Imperial Challenge coin. And that gets them onto Kylo Ren's ship. And Rey senses that the dagger is there too. So Finn and Poe go rescue Chewie and kill some stormtroopers, many of whom turn out to be women this time around. There's a lot of like, stop or I'll shoot, like ladies' voices under those stormtrooper outfits. So, you know, equality in the galaxy, but they're getting killed just as easily. So even though we got lady stormtroopers now with the men's stormtroopers, none of them shooting very good. So gender doesn't apparently seem to be the problem with stormtrooper aim. They're just no damn good at it. Rey, on the other hand, pew, pew, pew. Poe, pew, pew, pew. Finn, who is also a stormtrooper, I'll point out at one point, pew, pew, pew. Everyone's got perfect aim. These stormtroopers like, there they are. And they're shooting at the ceiling. Fucking dicks.
Hey kids, I am proud to brag that the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Roadshow Tour is sponsored by the fine folks at Jersey-born and based Audible.
Oh yes, and tickle your earballs with an audiobook at Audible.
And reboot your reading habits like these guys did. Check it out.
No, you can't write stuff like that. You don't even belong in the Audible universe. You're a hack. All right, get out of my earballs. Dude, I'm listening to this audiobook on Audible, bro, and this guy is such a loser. All right, he don't know syntax, he don't use subtext, and the worst part, he thinks he's funny, man. I hate him. Well, I have to finish it. Gotta know what happens at the end. Ooh, I hate your little beard. Fake little beard. You go, ooh, what? Oh, yes! Hip hip toogan! Hip hip toogan! Kakaisen! Kakaisen! Skit skit! Skeet skeet! Scott! Scott! Kakaisen! Oh my gosh, dude. I'm listening to this audiobook by this brand new author, bro. No one's ever heard of before, Silent Bob. And man, it feels good to find new talent on Audible, man. I'm telling you, one day, dude, this writer is gonna be super duper, super famous one day. Enough said, snoogans. Ooh. you crying because you're listening to one of those emotional audiobooks by Audible? And what mean old book is making the baby cry? Oh. You're gonna need a lot more tissues. A lot more.
Reboot your reading habits with an audiobook at Audible.
Yes, for a free 30-day trial, go to audible.com/reboot. Snooches.
Kylo Ren's, let me see. Rey sneaks into Kylo Ren's room, you know, and the Reylo shippers are like, oh, she's in his room. She sees his Vader porn, which is now out of its collector case and sitting atop a display stand that I also hope that SciShow collectibles include when they sell that fucking mask. Kylo does that mind meld thing and tells Rey her parents were not junk dealers like he said in the last movie, man. They had way more connection to the Star Wars saga than Rian Johnson previously thought in Last Jedi. So they fight and they bust up his little Vader mask stand, at which point Kylo Ren's like, you're in my fucking room. And so Finn and Poe and Chewie are about to be executed before they're saved by the spy who was, wait for it, General Hux. Big cheery moment. When I was at the premiere, I saw at the premiere, when they revealed it was Hux, everyone was like, ah! Especially the way he said it. He's like, I'm the spy. It was really fun. So Hux, you know, turns out to be a hero, but he's not really a hero. Finn's like, why are you doing this? He's like, I don't care if you win. I want Kylo Ren to lose. Like it's that. He don't give a fuck about the rebels. He just can't stand Kylo Ren. He will eventually get killed, spoilers, by Withnail and I. Like, bam, Richard E. Grant just blows him away and stuff. Richard E. Grant's character may be force sensitive. I don't know. They said that in some of the comic books or books outside of the movie that maybe he was, because he references at one point where he's like, I've worked for you for a long time, you know, or something like that to the Emperor, to Kylo Ren about like, you know, I've been around for a minute and stuff. They don't do a lot with him, to be honest with you. He gets, spoilers, blown out a window at the end. That's about it. Let me see. Kylo Ren shows up on the ship to confront Rey. Once again, you're here, now I'm here. And he tells her that she's Palpatine's granddaughter. He's like, I am the grandson of Vader. You are the granddaughter of Palpatine. What do you think of that? You know, fucking there. He says, we're a dyad in the Force. First time that's ever been introduced. 2 Horror 1. Then a bunch of stormtroopers are standing around watching this scene. Like they're just surrounded by stormtroopers, Kylo Ren and Rey, as he's just like, your dad's the Emperor, your granddad's the Emperor. Can you imagine that shit? And all these stormtroopers are just sitting around like, awkward. Like, do we have to be here for this? Should we not shoot somebody? Let's see. Rey escapes on the Falcon in this cool move where like Falcon shows up, she jumps out the fucking spaceport and shit. And the Falcon spins, turns afterburners on the fucking First Order, and they all go flying except for Kylo Ren, who fucking forces himself forward and shit like that. I thought that was badass. They escape on the Falcon. They head to a moon in the Endor system where they find the remnants of the second Death Star from Return of the Jedi. We all saw it in the trailer. And Rey calls this a bad place from an old war. And I'm like, no, man, this is like the happiest place of my childhood. Memories. Okay. The heroes meet. She uses the Sith knife, magic Sith knife, to figure out where the Wayfinder is in the wreckage, man. And then she takes a skiff out to the wreckage. Heroes meet Janna, who, like Finn, used to be a stormtrooper. She and a bunch of stormtroopers mutinied. That's the story. She's like, they asked us to kill civilians, and we didn't do it. We just all put our guns down and shit. And I'll be honest with you, you know, I didn't think of this. Because Finn's like, that's the fucking Force you're using. That's the Force. Eric Carrasco, who wrote a lot of the episodes of Supergirl that I directed, amazing writer. He's working with me on Masters of the Universe right now. He said all they had to do was go one more line. Because, Finn, Janna goes, we just put our guns down. We don't know why. Or instead of saying we don't know why, We just all put our guns down. And Eric was like, then Finn could have been like, why'd you do that? And then Janna could have been like, because we heard of you. Like, I get fucking chills just saying it out loud. Like, how amazing would that have been if she was like, you have inspired, like, while your fucking movies have been going on, in the background, you inspired a bunch of stormtroopers to fuck this noise. Like, you're the Star War, man. Like, it would have been cool. So they didn't do that, but still, it's kind of a nice notion. And Finn and Janna are like, hey, we were both conscripted kids, man. This is nuts. And then he starts telling her about the Force. But I like Derek's version better. Anyway, enough fan fiction writing. We're going to talk about the movie we got. At the Death Star wreckage, Rey climbs around like the scavenger she used to be, and we saw in the first movie, man. She finds the Wayfinder, but then she goes into this tunnel and then fights a Sith version of herself, like when Luke fought like Darth Vader in the tree in Empire Strikes Back, and then the fucking mask comes off and you see Luke underneath and shit. So it's one of those dream sequencing things. And she sees herself as a Sith with fucking switchblade lightsaber and shit. And she got like Sith teeth and shit. Looks real cool. And then she comes running out of that fight and she runs into Kylo Ren again. And he takes her Wayfinder and he's like, oh, you want this? The only way you're going to exegol is with me. And he breaks it and shit. And that's when the fight begins. The fight that's in the trailer where they're fighting on top of the wreckage of the Death Star in the waves. I still can't figure out how they did it. I work in film. I'm not saying I'm a good filmmaker, but I work in film, so I know like the pieces that go together. And I'm like, that's astounding. That's a seamless the CG sequence, because I couldn't tell where they began and the water ended and stuff like that. And they were getting wet and stuff. Like, they didn't take them out into the ocean to fight, kids. I'll tell you that much. So it's pretty impressive, beautiful sequence. One of the most beautiful lightsaber fights we've ever seen in any of the Star Wars movies. Very epic, too. Back at the Resistance base, Princess Leia lays down. General Leia Organa. Sorry, I don't want to take anything away. But to me, she'll always be Princess Leia. That's how I met her. Princess Leia lays down, and she tries to reach Kylo Ren, man. And Maz is telling us, like, she's the only one who could reach her son now. I don't know why she didn't try this years ago. But just as Kylo and Rey are fighting, and Kylo gets the upper hand, he's about to, like, come down and kill Rey. Suddenly, he hears his mother's voice, and he freezes, and he drops his lightsaber, and then Rey grabs it, turns it on, just stabs that motherfucker right in the gut, man. For which I was like, good. Yeah, Han Solo killing piece of shit. He drops down to his knees. He's like, I can't believe I got fucking beat because my mom called me. Fucking goddamn it. And Rey feels Leia die. That's what happens. And she's like, oh, Leia. And then she feels guilty that she fucking killed Leia's son, I guess. Because then she uses some of that magic Wolverine healing Mr. Miyagi, force finger shit to heal Ben, well, Kylo Ren. And he's all like, the fuck? And she's like, I wanted to take your hand, Ben's hand. But, her British accent's way better than mine. And then she flies the fuck away in Kylo Ren's ship and leaves him there. Like, I beat you and I took your ship. Fuck you, emo little fuck. Princess General Leia Organa dies in the movies. We lost Carrie a while back, but in these movies, that is how Princess Leia goes out. The princess that we met, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope, back in 1977, her journey ends with her casting herself across a galaxy to reach her son, and that takes all of her energy, and she passes. Now, they're writing within a box. They could only use the footage that they had, if they were going to use it at all. They could only use footage that they had left over of Carrie from Force Awakens and perhaps Last Jedi. So they had to kind of write around what they, were able to work with and stuff. But this is what I really loved about it. Leia dies holding Han's medal, which comes into play later on as well. But this is why I love that. In their continuity, Leia and Han, were a couple. They got together. They had a kid, Ben Solo. They spent years together and stuff like that. But what that moment says is that when she thinks of Han Solo, I'm going to get emotional doing this. That's the Han Solo she thinks of. Not the guy who gave her the kid. She wasn't holding the picture of him holding like Ben Solo. She holding that fucking medal because she is a rebel through and fucking through. Her whole life was about fighting these fuckers and their tyranny. And first is the Empire, and then it's the fucking First Order and shit. So him coming back in Star Wars, like when they were about, I mean, I swear I feel stupid, but I'm going to get emotional for this. When they were absolutely at their lowest and they're about to be fucking killed by the Empire. And like, you know, she's like, what did I do all this for? Like, we're going to fucking die. And they're going to run the world, the galaxy, fucking, just when they think everything, she was like, it's all fucking over. It's all for naught. The guy least likely, the motherfucking pirate who was like, where's my money? Shows up and fucking helps save the day. Now, we all know that as Star Wars. Like, hey, fucking Han and Chewie showed up at the last minute and helped, you know, you're clear, kid. Let's blow this shit and go home. So we were all happy because, like, yay, the third act of the movie. But could you imagine what it felt like for Princess Leia, who's just like, we're fucked. It was all for nothing. I led these people into a fucking suicide mission and we're all going to die. And she's resigned to dying, resigned to a fucking world in which the Empire wins. And then suddenly this fucking guy comes out of nowhere, comes back and does the thing least likely. That's when she fucking falls in love with Han Solo, motherfucker. It ain't an Empire Strikes Back when they kiss. That was the moment in her whole life. That's what she loved about that man the most. Like, you, the guy fucking least likely, you saved our asses. And like, not only just saved my life, but she seems like the kind of person who doesn't care about her life as much as like, you saved the movement. That's all that ever mattered to me, was this movement, was the rebellion. So I loved it. I loved that she was clutching his medal when she died. It told a story that maybe I filled in the blanks, but I fucking loved it, man. Sorry. Chewie, Poe, and Finn come back to find out Leia's dead. And in the biggest emotional moment of the movie, Chewie drops to his knees and starts wailing. Like, you know, on first on his knees and then on all fours. Like in this bereft fucking like, all of my friends are fucking dead. Like, I don't know any of these people. Luke's gone. Han's gone. And now you're telling me fucking Princess Leia's gone too? Fuck. Like, he's like the rest of us, all fucking like, yeah, no. It was really heartbreaking. Really wonderful moment that they afforded Chewie. Then JJ used all the power of the Force to bring back Harrison Ford, man. Han Solo confronts Ben on the wreckage of the Death Star. You hear him say, hey, kid. Oh, and I heard that. And before they cut to him, I'm like, I said, the whole audience was like, woo. And I was like fucking applauding louder than anybody else. And then just as it died down, I was like, fuck yeah, JJ. And then they all laughed and stuff. I couldn't believe he pulled it off. He fucking brought Harrison Ford back. Harrison Ford was like, I am done with this shit. So much so, kill me in the first one. And he came back, not as a Force ghost, man, as a memory or something like that. Eric Carrasco, my writer friend, said, wouldn't it have been great if Leia like gave her life doing that, bringing Han to Ben because she knew that would turn him or something like that. Just one more line or whatever. So you could interpret it that way as well. Let me see. Han has a come to Yoda conversation with Ben where he tells him to come home. And Ben's like, he repeats his line from Force Awakens where he's like, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if there's strength to do it. And then he says dad to Han Solo because he was always calling him like Han Solo in the movies, right? And he goes, dad. And then Han Solo goes, I know. Come on, man. Like, you can shit on this movie all you want, but like, that's fan service beautiful right there. That's Han Solo's I love you. He said it to Ben's mother when she's like, I love you. He goes, I know. So when he goes, dad, and he goes, I know, that was him telling his son he loved him. That's way better than if Harrison Ford had said, I love you, like in the dialogue. I thought that was beautiful, man. Really, obviously beautiful to me. Sorry. Getting over a cold. So Ben Solo chucks away Kylo Ren's lightsaber. And he's like, fuck this, I'm a good boy now. And he turns around and Han Solo's gone. Which, you know, sends the message, or I guess the lesson is like, good people are fucking lonely. I don't know. But anyway, so he's by himself. Great fucking scene. Great moment. Every Star Destroyer in the Sith fleet got them planet-killing weapons, so the First Order says, blow up Kijimi, man. My home planet. So I'm dead in these movies. I was introduced, and I'm fucking dead. We never got to explore my backstory. Unless, like in Rogue One, I got off the planet just like, fucking the guy was like, he don't like you either. I don't like you either. The doctor and the other fucking dude who Ben Kenobi cuts his arm off, because we saw them on the planet on Rogue One, and then that planet got blown up. So they got off in time because they show up in Star Wars. So maybe I got off in time, my character and my robot buddy and shit. And we're just lost in space going, thank Christ we left Kijimi when we did. Fuck. All right. Poe talks to Leia's body. And he's asking her how he can lead like she did. He's like, I ain't good at this like you. You got to tell me how to do this. And that's when Lando shows up and he goes, hey, man, we did it in Return of the Jedi. And you could do it. You just need friends. We had each other. It's all about friendship and stuff. And then Finn finds out from Dio some backstory, the little robot. And so they're like, wait, we got a map. We got a fucking, this little robot has a map to Exegol. Not a map, but just knows where it is, Exegol and stuff. The little robot Dio knew more than like they knew. And so meanwhile, we cut to the island of Luke, the island of Lost Luke from Last Jedi, where Rey is destroying Kylo Ren's TIE fighter, just like Luke had sank his X-Wing years back. We see some porgs, and Rey goes to throw her lightsaber out at the fucking fire. She's like, I don't need this shit anymore. And she throws it, and then a hand catches it and fucking stops it from going in the flames. And it's cock knocker, man. That's right. Fucking for the first time ever, we get to meet the Force ghost Luke Skywalker. And he throws some shade at Last Jedi when he goes, a Jedi's weapon deserves more respect, because she threw it away and he threw it away in the last movie and stuff. So Rey tells, Luke, I'm a Palpatine and I saw myself on the throne and I've come to Lonely Luke Island because I'm going to stop that from ever happening. I'm going to do what you did, man. I'm going to come here and just live like a hermit. That's what Jedis do. Remember Ben Kenobi out in fucking Tatooine in the sand and shit? And then you here on the island drinking the milk from the fucking, right off the fucking teat. And then Luke says, you know what? I was wrong to be here for that whole movie. That's what he doesn't say that. But he goes, I shouldn't have done what I did. He goes, fuck what's in your blood. What's in your heart, man? And then he gives her Leia's old lightsaber. Who knew that Leia had a lightsaber? I didn't know that. And tells a story about how he trained her to be a Jedi. And there's a flashback to the young Luke and Leia training what must be on Endor after Return of the Jedi. And then, she bests him, boom, dumps him on his ass. And he pulls up his blast helmet, it's young Luke. She pulls up her blast helmet, it's young Leia. And Luke said that Leia had sensed the death of her son at the end of her Jedi path. So she surrendered her lightsaber at that point to Luke and said it would be picked up again by somebody who would finish her journey. I guess the idea is, like, she's like, I'm not going to be a Jedi. If I'm a Jedi, my kid dies. And so she put the lightsaber down. That's the nearest I can get from that. Rey finds the Wayfinder because Luke's like, look, man, fucking, you got to do this. You're the one. And all the Jedi live in you and blah, blah, blah. And then she goes, I don't even know how to get there. And he goes, you got everything you need. And then she goes into the blown up ship and she finds the Wayfinder that Kylo Ren had used in the very beginning of the movie. And in a nice nod to The Empire Strikes Back, Force Ghost Luke finally raises the X-Wing from the water. The same one that, everyone said in Last Jedi, it can't fly. It's been in the water for so long. And he's got no astromech droid. And fucking of course he couldn't get off the planet. The Force, motherfuckers. He raises the X-Wing out of the water. And that's the X-Wing that Rey is going to take into battle. Luke's fucking X-Wing Red 5, man. So we leave Luke behind, and that's the end of Luke Skywalker in all of these movies. His journey was a little farm boy who looked up the stars and was like, I want to help. Fuck. Sorry. And then his journey, he became like the greatest Jedi in the world. And, there he is. He's a Force ghost. We got to see almost the entire arc of his life. If you include like the prequels when he was born, there's only like 15 years of Luke we're missing. And I'm sure Disney Plus will make that series one day. But there it is. Mark Hamill. ends his appearance in all the Star Wars movies lifting the X-Wing out the water. Well, it's not his final appearance. We get one more bite at the apple, Force Ghost later on. But that's a big fucking moment. I thought that was really beautiful. Okay. Wearing Luke's old helmet, Rey flies to Exegol. I'm getting way more emotional than I thought I would. And at the Rebel base, they get plans from Exegol from Dio, but they don't know how to get there. They know how it's laid out, but they don't know how to get there. So they catch a signal from an old ship, man. They're like, what the fuck? And they're like, it's Luke Skywalker's X-Wing. They cut to Rey fucking flying it with the helmet. And you're like, yeah! Finn realizes it's Rey, and they do one of those get ready to fight the Empire montages where there's a speech, and Finn and Poe are going to co-lead the resistance into the Battle of Exegol, man. The last battle of the entire Star Wars saga. No more Death Stars, just the resistance against a sea of Star Destroyers, man. One of which they run across on space horses. Star Destroyer could have easily just went like this. Listed to the left and or right. They all would have fallen off, but they can't. They decided, they're like, we can't get up there with our tech. They're like, we don't need technology. And fucking horses, space horses are running across. Ship of it. Look, choices. As the resistance battles in the air and on the ground, Rey confronts the world's worst fucking grandpa, man. He shakes his busted fingers at her and he tells her she's going to be the Empress. And Rey says she hasn't come to lead the Sith. I haven't come to lead the Sith. I've come to end them. And Grandpa tells Rey, you're going to kill me, and then I'm going to live on in you, and the two are going to become one, and we're going to be the Emperor together, man. You're my family. And he tells her that if she don't do this, if she don't strike him down and kill him so that they could become one and become the new emperor, empress, whatever, that he's going to kill the fucking fleet. He's got the power to do it. Like all his ships are overcoming the tiny rebel fleet because nobody's coming to help them. They just have this small resistance fleet and shit. And he's like, they're toast. I'm going to kill them all unless you do like I say. So she's like, I'll do it. I got to save my friends. He's like, you want to save your new fucking friends? You'll do this. That's when Ben Solo shows up in a sweater he got at the Gap. He stopped real quick at the Gap. He's like, I got to get out of these goth emo clothes and shit. Put on a comfy sweater that you would, so he's going to meet the woman he loves, grandfather. He wants to look presentable. So he puts on a Gap sweater and shit. And now he's going collegiate casual, motherfucker. And thanks to some Force magic, Rey is going to reach in her back and shit. She's got the lightsaber in her hand. She's going to reach back like she's going to hit, fucking Emperor Palpatine. But instead, she passes it off to Kylo Ren on the other side of, the temple and shit of the Exegol. And he's about to face down the fucking Knights of Ren and shit. And so he's got the lightsaber now, which is, I think it was Princess Leia's lightsaber, his mother's lightsaber. And he does Adam Driver so wonderfully. He does this real Han Solo, Harrison Ford kind of move. And then goes in, kills every Knight of Ren. Meanwhile, Homegirl is killing stormtroopers, the Emperor Royal Guards around the Emperor and shit with her fucking lightsaber. Then Ben and Rey team up to kill Palpatine, but he's way more forcey than they'll ever be. And he gets a taste of that Wolverine healing. He blasts them and shit, but then he gets the blowback and he's like, oh shit, my fingers are growing back. And he's like, I'm going to change my plans. Fuck being the co-emperor. I'm going to drain you fuckers. I'm going to be a brand new emperor, man. Yeah, I'm going to suck you dry and restore myself. So in the battle above, Greg Grunberg dies. This is the only time I ever want to see this in the real world, man, or never want to see it in the real world. But we got to see what would happen if Greg Grunberg died. Snap Wexley gets shot out of the sky, and blows up and shit. Poe's like, no. And then he's like, fuck, we're going to lose, man. And he gets on his controller. He's like, my friends, I led you wrong. This is fucked. We're all going to die. I'm so sorry. Nobody is coming. We're all by ourselves and shit. And then unlike The Last Jedi, where nobody really was coming and shit, and they were on their own, all of a sudden, fucking, hey, I was going to say on your left, but, fucking Lando's like, don't be sad, kid. We got back up. And all of a sudden, everybody shows up. Every fucking ship in the galaxy comes to join the fight, including Wedge. Wedge has a little cameo. Nice shooting, Lando. Everybody turned out, and that makes you feel good because you're like, yeah, fuck the First Order and shit. Palpatine tosses Ben Solo into a ditch. He's like, this is the end of the Skywalker saga, or whatever the fuck. And he tosses him in. He hits hard, man. Bam! He hits his back and then goes down into the drink. And then, let me see. He opens up the roof, and then he fucking finger bangs the fucking fleet with his sparkly fingers and shit. Starts like ships are losing their power. And Rey is on the ground, like beaten. She's staring up as the First Order is being, well, the Resistance is being like destroyed by the Emperor and shit. And suddenly she's like, be with me. And, you know, she reaches out, and every Jedi, whoever it was, we get to hear from every one of them who are in the movies, not in the movies. Qui-Gon's voice, like, we're with you. Anakin, he's like, you know, I bring balance to the Force like I did. And you're like, is that what you did? Yoda, Luke, Leia, and then the one that blew my mind, Ahsoka. Ahsoka Tano got her fucking voice. You hear her and you're like, oh, she's part of canon, motherfucker. She's from Clone Wars, from the cartoons, and from Rebels. If you don't know who Ahsoka is, you're not a great Star Wars fan. But hearing her voice amongst the Jedi, powerful shit, man. Powerful shit, at least for me. As these movies are. You know, some people are like, they got to be one thing, they got to be the other, and whatnot. Some people are mad, and some people don't like. You just give me enough moments like that, I'm fine. Like, I'm not looking for classic literature from these movies. I've been seeing them since I was 7 years old. You know, they're fun and they're big and they mean something to me personally, but like, they don't have to be fucking perfect, man. They're adventure serials and shit. And at the end of the day, you give me nice enough moments, collection of moments where I'm like, that was great. You know, things can sag a little as far as I'm concerned. And putting Ahsoka's voice in there, just like Leia holding that medal, shit like that was like, oh, Luke raising the X-Wing and shit. Oh, like I think he did it. That shit gets back. Hearing all the voices gets Rey back on her feet. And old Force Fingers tries this shit with Rey, but she uses Leia's lightsaber to absorb it and shit. She's fighting him back. And he's like, I am all the Sith, the Emperor. And she's like, I'm all the Jedi. And she fucking pulls the other lightsaber, Luke's lightsaber, into her hand. And boom, she's crossing the fucking lightsaber streams of Luke and Leia's lightsabers, pushing Force Fingers back, man. His death rays are like, rips his skin off like Raiders of the Lost Ark and shit. And then bam, he disintegrates and he's fucking gone until they need him again. Some other trilogy down the road. And he's like, I'm back. Poe and the Resistance take out all the bad guys in the sky, and that's when a Force-sensitive Finn feels Rey, like, dying and stuff. Like, because she fucking gave her all, and then she collapses. But Ben Solo crawls from the pit to do that Wolverine mutant healing factor Force shit on Rey and brings her back to life, man. Like, the way she brought him back to life. And then all you Reylo shippers, the moment we've all been waiting for, Ben and Rey kiss. And you're like, oh my God, look at that. They're going to have that traditional happy ending, even though their relationship was very weird and he was a bad boy for most of these movies and he killed a lot of fucking people and all that shit, including his own father. How do you ever trust this guy? But, you know, these movies are all about redemption, just like Luke Skywalker saved his dad, Darth Vader and stuff. Anakin Skywalker took off the mask. He's like, you saved me, my son. She saved Ben. And then Ben fucking dies. So they kiss and then he fucking dies. So they get both sides of the church, both sides of the aisle, man. Like the Reylo shippers who are like, I want them to be together. They got their moment. They got a kiss. And for those of us who are like, evil must be punished, he dies. But when he dies, he Force ghosts away and his mom Force ghosts away at the same time. So, you know, he died after he did a good act, saved her life, and he redeemed himself and stuff. So he didn't die like the Sith. He died like a Jedi, which is kind of nice. Let's see. A falling Star Destroyer passes by Bespin. I like that very much. I was like, Cloud City, man, memories. Where maybe Lobot saw it. That's his non-existent cameo, man. He's just fucking sitting in Bespin going like, they did it again. I wonder what Lando's up to. Wicket, the Ewok, man, and his kid, I guess his kid, could be his wife, but looked like his son, popped up to see the end of the war from Endor, man. Like looking up, seeing a Star Destroyer falling down. And Wicket's like, these fuckers are still fighting? Fuck. We see the first sex kiss in a Star Wars movie, very brief, right before Maz gives Chewie his long overdue medal for blowing up the Death Star that he never got 42 years ago, man, during the big ceremony at the end of Star Wars. And it's Han's medal, so it makes it even better. That was a real nice bit of fan service closure right there, where I was like, oh, finally he gets his medal. I've been bitching about that for years, since I was 7 years old. Lando meets Janna, who, if you read the comic books or the comics or the books, I hear they're related. He's your dad. But he didn't say anything like that. He's just, where are you from, kid? She's like, I don't know. I'm from this system. I don't know. And he's like, well, let's find out. And so you think, oh, that's going to be a Disney Plus series. But instead, it's just something that was handled in some other material. But apparently, they're related. Finn and Poe and Rey reunite, as do the droids. Come together. All is right with the galaxy. They've beaten these fuckers again. And nothing will ever be wrong in the galaxy from now until the end of time. So the PS is Rey flies the Falcon back to Tatooine and Luke's boyhood home, where he lived with Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen. It's all covered with sand now. She takes a little fucking metal thing and slides down the sand dune like she did. We saw her in Force Awakens when we first met her. And looks around, and then she has Luke and Leia's lightsabers, and she finds them up and buries them there, which was weird to me, because it's like, why would she bury Leia's lightsaber there? Leia had nothing to do with Tatooine. Luke's makes sense, but whatever. They bury him side by side and whatnot, and the sand outside. And then she ignites a gold lightsaber. It looks like her own. It looks like she made it from her staff, like she made her own lightsaber and stuff. Then an old lady is passing by. Random. I don't think she's connected to anything. She's on one of them Star Wars animals. And she's like, it's been so long since anyone's been here. My friend Eric Carrasco, he was like, couldn't that have been Watto? Wouldn't that have made more sense? And wouldn't people have been like, oh, shit. But whatever. Let's not rewrite what they did. So this old lady is just like, there's been nobody there for so long. Who are you? And she's like, I'm Rey. And like every nosy motherfucker in the galaxy, she's like, Rey who? Everyone wants to know everyone's last names all of a sudden. And then Rey looks over, and she sees the Force ghosts of Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia, General Leia Organa, standing there smiling at her and stuff. And then she looks back to the old lady, and she says, Rey Skywalker. She picks her name and stuff. And it's very powerful. My friend Vincent Pereira saw the movie, and he said, Vinny was the one that taught me about filmmaking and stuff. And Vinny's take on that was like, he's like, look, man, for somebody who's had issues with his own family, that was a very powerful moment. Like, she doesn't need that blood. She'll build her own. She has built her own family, non-traditional and stuff. I thought, oh, that's good. That's actually very good. And I saw somebody on Twitter was just like, I hate my family, and some bad shit happened in my life. So I changed my name. I took somebody else's name, and I totally loved that moment, blah, blah, blah. So the moment's got power for some people. Then BB-8 rolls into the shot with her, and in the background, the suns are raising, so it looks like BB-8. There's a circle on another circle. For 1 second, it looks like BB-8, and then BB-8 and Rey are looking at the twin suns of Tatooine in that, very famous Star Wars shot. 2 of JJ's creations sitting on the creation of George Lucas. And then, and credits, and then we out. There it is, man. That's Star Wars. Rise of Skywalker, kids. The Star Wars movie that brings it all to a close. I enjoyed the fuck out of myself. I've seen it 4 times. And so I got to go deep and analyze stuff. Some stuff I didn't pick up on the first, second, even third viewing and stuff. But man, I commend JJ and everybody involved bringing that ship in for a landing. I know some people are like, fuck you. He didn't do it right for you. He did it right for me. I was fine. I was happy. I as you can see, I still get emotional over this shit. So, I was there for it, man. And I was in it, which was lovely. Can't thank JJ enough. He had, wrote to me. I had a heart attack back in February 2018. And he was like, if you live, I'll stick you in the Star Wars movie. And some months later, I called him up or wrote him, and I was like, I've lived. I'm ready to be in that Star Wars movie. And he had me come out and be in it and stuff. So obviously, I'm biased. But there it is, man. It was a magical adventure. And for a kid who started all this, 1977, I can't believe we got 9. At one point, it wasn't going to happen. Then we got them. Got all 9 chapters, man. 42 years of my life invested in this stuff. Now, I'm ready for The Mandalorian. I haven't watched any of it yet because I've been touring Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. RebootRoadshow.com for tickets. We go back on the road January 10th. Come to a theater near you. Watch the movie with me and Jay. So I haven't had a chance to watch Mandalorian, but going into the premiere of Rise of Skywalker, I ran into Favreau and John Favreau, and I was like, oh, man. I said, I ain't seen it yet, but I hear nothing but good things. I said, but hey, man, who came up with Baby Yoda? He said, I did. And I was like, get out of here. He said, yeah, it's my show. And he gave me a coin, a Mandalorian challenge coin and stuff. So that's my next Star Wars. I look forward to diving deep into that, man. But for Rise of Skywalker and the entire Star Wars saga, Skywalker saga, if you will, 9 movies come to a close. The book is closed, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for sitting through this very, very long review. And don't forget, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Roadshow Tour, rebootroadshow.com for tickets. Oakland, we're coming to you next. The good folks at Audible, give them a listen. They're our sponsor, wonderful cats. And the good folks at Disney brought you a Star Wars movie and brought you a whole channel with a bunch of other Star Wars content on it. So I know some people are like, Disney. Thank you for keeping my childhood alive. There it is, folks. May the Force be with you.